the governor, Kathy Hochul, wrote an op-ed in the New York Times saying why she was going to endorse Mamdani. And she said they had talked a lot of times and they didn't agree on every issue. Now, we know they don't agree on issues, and she didn't list any of those things. But she did get to what apparently was the most important thing. And I'm going to read just a little bit. She said, I needed to know the next mayor will not be someone who would surrender 1 inch to President Trump. Mr. Mamdani and I will both be fearless in confronting the president's extreme agenda with urgency, conviction, and the defiance that defines New York. So it appears that whatever you hear about, you know, rent control or grocery stores or high taxes or globalize the intifada, whatever you hear about any of that stuff
Or
about
crime.
Mamdani, what real or crime, what really matters is they won't give 1 inch against President Trump.
Well, continuing on our Big Apple Monday, the elections are around the corner. We're getting closer and closer. I wouldn't go by. I'll tell you honestly, I wouldn't go by the way the charts are showing right now. That they have Mamdani ahead. I don't believe he is. I think it's a lot closer than most people think that it is. To the point, because this has happened before. This happened in actually, it's happened twice. Just recently, it happened during the last election, where they said that Trump wasn't ahead; he was going to be behind. And then same thing happened in 2016. No, yeah, he was behind. We're going to have Hillary Clinton as president, and it didn't work out that way. But I think this time around, I think a lot more people are going to start coming out because people are upset out there. The only problem I find is Manhattan. That's our major problem in New York City right now when it comes to the election. It's the borough of Manhattan. When it comes to like Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, it slips down the middle. I tell you one thing where we're almost completely red is Staten Island. Staten Island has one of the largest, conservatives in New York City. That's why we're considered the bastard child of the entire New York City, because we're not respected at all, and that's why they're talking still about separating from New York City itself. But here's one thing, talking about bend the knee to this point. Well, our governor, Kathy Hochul, has made an endorsement. Yes, that's right. She has endorsed it. Who does she endorse? Did she endorse Cuomo? Did she endorse Curtis Silva? No. She went with Zohran Mamdani.
I fucking knew it! Oh!
But before we get into this article, don't forget to drop a comment, like, share, and hopefully today's the day I've earned your subscription. Those of you who are on there, we're almost bordering 1,400. Let's get there. 1,400 subscribers. I mean, we're still struggling. We're still battling the AI. We're still battling the YouTube and Google gods up there. That they basically have taken control of the entire situation. And they're not letting the, good content get out there. Right now, YouTube is number one when it comes to watching streaming online, followed by Netflix. If they want to stay this way, they need to work with the content creators, all of us. Stop, bending over to the activists that are in your company, that bending over to the mainstream media, because that's what you're doing. You're pushing the mainstream media forward. There is great shows out there. You have stuff like Sci-Fi for Me, Sci-Fi Snap, Culture Casino, WD Disney. It's so many guys. Valiant Renegade. I can go on and on and on. There's some good shows, good talk out there, live streams, videos. There's so many of us out there, but yet we don't get the respect. It makes me feel like I'm back in my public access days. We didn't get really respect. Back then we were run by Time Warner. These days it's Spectrum. The M&N network, which is Manhattan Neighborhood Network, is not the same as it was back in my day. We had good contact back then. A lot of the people that we used to work with back in the 80s and 90s, when it came to that, moved on. They went to work for NBC, HBO, MTV. They went to become movie stars and big producers or people who work on productions for Cartoon Network. This is something that has been going on for some time. So it's always important to interact with these channels, including ours itself. Keep moving us up. Whether you're on Rumble, whether you're on YouTube, continue to click on us. I know we're moving up in Rumble a bit. It's a little slow, but I know we're starting to get there. So we really do thank you. Live streams are coming. You've seen already a couple of tests that we're doing. There's more coming. We'll have guests and such and such. So basically, do stay tuned to that. And once again, thank you. So from the New York Post, NY Governor Kathy Hochul endorses Zohran Mamdani for mayor. Governor Kathy Hochul endorsed lefty Democrat nominee Zohran Mamdani for mayor in a bombshell Sunday guest essay. After her camp tried to keep the candidate at arm's length throughout the campaign, the question of who will be the next mayor is the one I extremely seriously and to which I have devoted a great deal of thought. No, you haven't. Hochul wrote in the New York Times Opinion One piece, published, this was 2 Sundays ago. Tonight I am endorsing Assembly Zohran Mamdani, she said. Hochul's likely endorsement of Mamdani was first reported by the Post early Sunday evening. Before her endorsement was announced, the governor said she had frank discussions with Mamdani, but confident landing an endorsement the lefty candidate despite their disagreements. In the past few months, I've had frank conversations with him. We've had our disagreements, Hochul wrote in a guest essay. But in our conversations, I heard a leader who shares my commitment to New York, where children can grow up safe in their neighborhoods and where opportunity within reach for every family. I heard a leader who focused on making New York City affordable, a goal. I enthusiastically support, she said. Among the talking points, the governor said she discussed with the mayor for the frontrunner was affordability and ensuring strong leadership at the helm of the NYPD and urgently tackling the rise of anti-Semitism across the 5 boroughs. Do you understand that this guy is not gonna tackle that? He's not gonna tackle that at all. When it comes to the crime, he's going to reduce the amount of cops. He's going to continue the cashless bail and situations to that. Now, there's a lot more to this, and I would say go ahead, go check it out and read it, because there's a lot they talk about it. Most of it's all politics situation. But, the thing about it is, how about the reverse? Will Zohran Mamdani endorse Kathy Hochul for another couple of years up in Albany? No, he's not going to. He's already said it. He's not going to be endorsing her. Of course not. This is a guy who has socialist thoughts in his mind to this point. This isn't one he wants to go out and create supermarkets run by the city, which we know doesn't work. It's never worked. These are socialism, communist type situations. We already know in another city that they've had this, and the supermarket is shutting down. It's closing up. They had nothing in, inventory was nothing. The shelves were bare. It looked like something out of Venezuela to that point, or Cuba, or even Russia. You got to put to this point. If you want to make the city great, you got to bring the traffic back in. You got to, be safe to the situation. help the homeless. And they say, well, you got to get more housing. We don't need more housing for the homeless. We need the homeless to be helped. Most of them have mental health issues, whether they're depressed, whether they're drug addicted, or they other issues that have come across that line, but they don't want to tackle it. I remember Mamdani was saying, well, we'll put the homeless living in the subways, in the stores that are empty throughout the subway system. That's the most idiotic thing to say. These people, like I said, these people don't want homes. They have mental health problems. And for you to get, to try to get I don't even think DOB is going to approve that. They already get on people's cases if they rent out the basement of some of the homes, and apartment buildings here in New York City. And consider the flooding. Yeah, heavy rainstorm flooding, you're going to flood some of those people out. It's not safe to that situation. You would have to create an apartment that, little bathroom, proper plumbing, proper electricity, and there's other safeguards that the DOB says you have to have in there, safety features, especially like if you have children to that point. So you're going to tell me that, we're going to put everybody in the basement. We're going to create a couple of chuds. No, we're not going to create chuds. If you ever watch that movie, this guy and the rest of our city council and a lot of our politicians here, some of them are Republican too, that basically, are not dealing with the problems in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, Staten Island. They're not dealing with the issues in all of our boroughs. You see it day in, day out, and then they try to fudge the crime figures, which they have. They fudge the figures on the congestive pricing situation on there, because basically out here we have more pollution, we have more traffic now because of them diverting everything from Midtown. And then don't let me get into the bike lanes. These crazy bike lanes because you got some crazy people out there that want to get rid of the cars. But guess what? The bikes, whether it's moped, whether it's a regular bike, whether it's an electric bike, are issues in throughout the city. Brooklyn will tell you this, especially in the Jewish neighborhoods. Kids have been hit by bikes. Most people don't respect the rules of the road. This is why I said they should be licensed. They should have, licenses for these, so at least these people could be ticketed properly. Maybe they will understand. You got to, they think, it's like, oh, I'm not polluting or anything, or I'm not harming anyone, but you are. By you running that red light, by you passing the school bus, which has the stop sign out. A stop sign is a stop sign. That means you, on your bike, need to stop while children exited the bus so they can get onto the sidewalk. Kids get hurt this way, to this point. But nonetheless, they're shrinking the roads in New York City. All you got to do is come into New York. Look at how much smaller spaces for the trucks, the buses. It's not only the cars, it's the trucks and the buses. And then they're taking away the parking by putting up these enormous garbage can units, which will say, well, it'll stop the rats from getting in. Oh, come on, really? Rats are smart enough to chew into anything. And there's no such thing as rat-proof. If the rats want to get into the food, they will. I've lived long enough in this city to know they will eat through metal, they will eat through concrete, they'll eat through anything. They'll chew through it. It'll take them some time, but they'll get through it. Their teeth are sharp enough. These guys don't have plans. Curtis Slewa has a lot more plans, but versus a crime point of view, than the rest of these guys combined. It's time we clean it up. I lived through Abraham Bean, then Koch, then David Dinkins, and then we got to Giuliani. What did Giuliani do? He cleaned up New York. Most people say, well, no, they were doing it before and stuff like that. They were doing it somewhat. But it took, Giuliani to come in to really wipe it clean. He got corporate money in there as well. Times Square, if it wasn't for, and I'll say this back then, if it wasn't for Disney, Disney is the one who helped clean up Times Square. Times Square was literally it was like, it was, the reason it was called the Deuce for a reason. It was insane. I mean, if you want to see what it is, you can look at the old pictures, but there's a great series called The Deuce on HBO. I always keep recommending this. Shows the span of the early days of the hookers, the drugs, the prostitution, the porn industry, the AIDS crisis, and the rebuild of Times Square. A lot went into it. You had mob issues. A lot of crime. A lot of things went on in that time period. Most people don't realize what we did to clean up New York. The subways were awful. You wouldn't travel at night. As soon as sundown hit in my neighborhood, and I today, the neighborhood that where my mother lives right now, is where I was born and raised, is much cleaner now, even though it's starting to deteriorate again, than it was years ago. You were able to walk around at night. We have a lot of bars and clubs and restaurants great in that area. Wasn't like that back then. Wasn't like that at all. The hookers would come out as soon as sunset hit. The hookers, the drug dealers, and the insane mental people that came out of the Bellevue Hospital they had centers in there that they would leave at night. They wouldn't stay in. And there was a lot of these crime issues. And it cleaned up. Giuliani cleaned it up to that point. And you think that this guy's going to do it? No, not at all. We need someone there that's going to have the brass balls to say, hey, we need to change everything. Everything that must go at this point. A lot of our Fifth Avenue shops are gone because of what happened during the riots and all that situation. There's a lot of real estate out here that's open. Let's bring back the stores. Let's bring back the tourists. Let's bring back the people that moved away from New York. Let's work on it. That's what we have to do. So let me know in the comments, especially if you're from NYC. Tell me, what does it need to fix this city? Tell me in the comment line on there. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments line. Don't forget to like, share, and hopefully today's the day I earn your subscription. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to check out this Wednesday Sci-Fi Snobs Babylon 5 retrospective, 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube, Sci-Fi for Me. Subscribe to his channel. You'll get notifications of when he goes live. He had some great shows. He's done a bunch of them recently. I've been on one or two as of late. I will be on the Babylon 5 retrospective, I believe, when this hits in about 2 weeks. I'll be back on live on there, so do check me out on that channel. So until next time, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye now.